Welcome everyone to the Voice of Terminus show number 104, and we're joined by, oh look, Josh and Lex are switcherooed.
Hi, I'll be Lex.
So we have Lexo on the left side.
Apparently my voice just got real sexy.
So say hello, Lex.
Hello, people.
Say hello, Josh.
Hi.
And we have Pyye with us today. Say hello, Pyye.
Hello, everybody.
So we're going to be sitting down with Pyye today to talk some Pantheon, get to know the guy. He's also been doing some streams on talking about Pantheon as well, and we'll get into all of that in a bit. So, Lex, do you want to go and start it off, and I'll try and fix the camera boxes in the meantime?
Well, actually, Josh is going to start this one.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, tell us a bit about your gaming background, Pa.
So, as you can see, I'm quite wise to the world. I've been gaming a long time, probably pushing 25 years, something like that. And so it originally started, Zelda was one of the first games to hook me in on Super NES. And I just remember I fell in love with it. Remember, this 2D game, a lot of you are pretty familiar with. And then it went into the N64 version. And around that time, I'm trying to remember, so I was finishing high school, and I went to work for my uncle, who he built swimming pools, right? And his hobby was actually computers and things like that. And he was playing the first computer game, which was called King's Quest. You guys are familiar with that one? So it was the Sierra series, and I think the first one came out in 1980 or something like that. And anyway, so it was through the 80s, but it was around the early 90s when this was all taking place. And so we would build swimming pools, and then we would get off early, and I'd go watch him because I couldn't afford a computer at that time. But I was watching him, and what intrigued me was he could pick up little bits of items with the mouse, move it over and manipulate things. And you couldn't do that with like console games, right? So I was just blown away. Plus, back then, I thought the graphics were amazing. So I was hooked. At that point, I was hooked. And then he got into World of Zine and all the Might and Magic stuff. And by then, I started getting my computer built because that was my goal. And then he and I used to play, right? And so it was Might and Magic series, which if you look at some of my backdrop here behind me, those are some of my classic games behind me. And then it went into Neverwinter. And so I was just kind of hooked with PC games ever since, right? And then in 1999, I found EverQuest. Mm-hmm. And I'll just never forget the day when I logged in and I was looking around. You have all your rusty and like ragged leather, and you don't have anything on you, and you're trying to figure it out. And I saw these characters running around me, and I didn't realize they were real people, at first. And then I figured it out, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool, Well, forward 11 years later, I was still playing EverQuest. So I was an 11-year player of EverQuest, so a long time. Mm-hmm. I ran a guild. I was a part of guild. I pretty much did it all. Did the whole alt thing. Restarted with an alt guild, and so we did a lot of cool things. So EverQuest, without getting too far into that, really hooked me in. And I think after that, I broke away. Did a little bit of World of Warcraft, Arcade, which I'll talk about a little bit later, and then just honestly a mess of games ever since. I'm always looking for that next hook, right? So we thought it was going to be EverQuest next, and maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later too. But yeah, so ever since, it's just it's always been a hobby of mine.
Awesome.
Yeah, very cool. So can you describe to us your current PC setup, like number of screens and whatever, and will you be building a new PC for Pantheon?
That's funny you say that. So yes, I am, and the PC is going to be in next week. And my wife's happy because she gets to use the one I'm currently using now, which isn't bad. But so I got a 1080 Ti for my Christmas present. And so I'm like, 1080 Ti, you can't just have, my same computer and put that card in there. I got to get a whole new computer built up around it. So I figured, okay, I'm not going to go crazy, but it's going to be a AMD 12-core processor. It's going to have a 1080 Ti in it. And then I have a 30-inch monitor, so I have a laptop that runs the stream, 30-inch monitor, second monitor on the side that runs Discord. So I stream. So it's kind of nice to have Discord up, you know, and everything else. So that's kind of my basic setup. Corsair keyboard. Let's see. Usually have an iPad set up too, you know, just to do extra things, and liquor cabinet next to me, which is important, you know, especially when you get off work, right? So yeah,
of course.
I think that about summed it up.
Okay, brilliant. It's quite a setup you got there. If you had the choice of starting in a new starting area or a single area where all new characters spawn, which would you choose and why?
Well, if I understand it correctly, if it's a new area that's undiscovered and with less population, I probably will take that. The only reason why is the part that it's undiscovered. It's probably new to you. You haven't been there before, so you get to discover a whole probably new quest line, new mobs, NPCs, probably a new starting city, I would imagine, or something like that. So
yeah.
I think that would probably be my choice. But then again, starting with a lot of other people could have its benefits too. You know, you'd be with your friends and it'd be easier to organize things like that. But yeah, I think if given the choice, I'd like to see something new.
Yeah, I definitely think would you choose to start off with a brand new shiny character, or would you want to group with your friends from the start running around? I think.
Yeah, I guess it depends. But usually I like to get with the friends and, you know, run around with the friends and because, you know, we like to laugh and be silly and, you know, get serious when we need to be. But it's obviously a lot more fun with friends. Unless, you know, it requires a lot of like a big high learning curve like some games do, then sometimes it's kind of fun to get that out of the way the first 5 levels and then kind of meet up just so you're on your game a little bit. But or it could be, you know, nice discovering it together. So probably with friends.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So relating to that, which starting area are you most excited to see and why?
Probably, you know, I was thinking about that. I mean, obviously there's so many areas and there's so many that are left to talk about, but from what we know, probably Wild's End. I don't think it's a real big surprise. I think a lot of people choose that. The fascination is just because, just from the way it looks like it's built, I'm just curious to see how it's built, right? Because it looks like it's, you know, obviously it's all over the place. It's off the ground. It looks like it could be kind of dangerous. From what I've heard of the puzzle next to it and just different things, like the maze next to it, just different things, probably the creatures, the lore that's there they've already spilled. I think that would be a fun place.
Definitely.
Yep.
Y'all have any comments on Wild's End?
Only that it's where I would open up a Scar buffet.
I find it fascinating. I just like the colour palette. The way the colours have come together. How it kind of like, you know, just fulfills everything. The mystery's there, the suspense is there. The, you know, the beauty of that area as well through the matching of the colours and everything. It's just a very intriguing area. And I really just can't wait to see it. I've always been fascinated by that kind of stuff anyway. You'll either find me in caves or in sewers or in places like Wild's End commonly is where, you know, I will always end up being.
For me, I reckon I'd like to see what the Kanga Sands, I think it's called the Kaga Sands or whatever, what environment that'll have, and what kind of city that'd be able to have in that area. But I'm excited to have a look to see what all the other areas are coming out.
Cool. So, what class and race are you typically drawn to when selecting your character to play?
Oh, it's a great question because when I think of Pantheon right now, I really don't know. I mean, I thought I knew. I committed to the guild what I thought I was going to play, but to be honest with you, there's so much testing that needs to be done. There's so much things still to come out from their side as far as, you know, maybe racial passives or abilities, you know, what kind of horizontal leveling we got, just different things. There's a lot to come yet. So, but typically, like at EverQuest, I played a monk. I was the main puller, and and then I played an enchanter as a backup.
Brilliant.
So I typically like to control the safety of the group, or just those kind of roles where there's nothing more fun when it gets really crazy hectic and you save the day and you're still able to move on and keep progress going, right? That's some of the best times right there. But I also tend to play away from MMOs a little bit. I tend to play a lot of fire-based characters. So, like for example, Path of Exile recently, I played a Molten Strike or a Desecrate Dead. So it's all around fire. And in case some of you are wondering, well, Pyye, it's a strange name, Pyye. What's going on with that? So, how that worked is, like I said, I played fire-based characters, and so it was always called Pyreborn, or something with pyre in it, right?
Pyromancer. Yeah.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden, voice chat became popular, and so on voice chat, everyone would always call me Pyye for short, right? And it just kind of became a thing, teasing me about Pyye, and so I'm like, well, I can't be PIE, right? Everyone's going to have that, so I had to think of some kind of cool, symmetrically sound name, and so I just went with PYYE, and that's how that came about. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah.
So for Pantheon, I'm thinking maybe Monk Enchanter, but again, I really don't have I don't know at this point.
Oddly enough, since you mentioned the name, I was very tempted to actually buy a shirt for the show that just says "I love pie" with a slice of pie.
It was very tempting.
I've heard that before. Flaming pie, actually.
I could do that. Yes.
Yeah. Flaming apple pie.
Yeah, I don't know about the flaming pie part, but everyone tends to like pie, so that's a good thing.
Right. So here's a very difficult question. You will be highly judged on your answer here.
Okay.
Ooh.
What is the best movie you've ever watched, and why?
Yeah, I'm going to be judged, all right. So I'm a movie mutt, okay? But my wife's going to laugh her ass off at this. So here's the thing. I like a lot of different movies, okay? But I'm going to end up with one, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about others. So there's been no movie to date that's moved me like Braveheart has, right? I remember seeing that in the theaters and just everyone around me crying. And I mean, it was a really an emotional experience, right? And it had to do with just people betraying each other. And it's just really tough movie to watch, right?
Yeah.
So that is still up there on my list. Full Circle, Forrest Gump's one of my top movies. Gladiator's one of my top movies, for similar reasons. I could always watch Forrest Gump. It's just a feel-good movie. It's about people and it's about life experiences and what's important, what's not. And, it's just a great lesson as a movie. Well, then I met my wife and we've been together about 8 years now. And she is a Harry Potter, she is, don't laugh. This is where you're going to judge me, Alexa, all right? So the funny thing is trust me, I'm forced to watch a lot of these movies, at least over the years. And then now it's turned out to the point where I love them. I think they're great movies. It's when they're on, it's I don't know what it is about it. It's always exciting. It's about magic. It's about make-believe. It's about fantasy. And what's funny is, it's like isn't that kind of what we do in our fantasy role-play games anyway? I mean, it's about, lore and magic and history and, just different things. So anyway, so that I'm putting myself out there when I say that. She's going to laugh. But so anyway, yeah, so I'd have to say that is the ones we typically watch the most.
Okay.
See, oddly enough, and I'll admit to this too, I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but I do enjoy the movies. They're not in my top 10, but I still greatly enjoy them.
I don't say I have a poster up behind me or anything, but I do enjoy them.
All right, brilliant. At least you didn't say 50 Shades of Grey or something stupid.
Yeah, no, I'm not a perv.
All right. So, do you prefer to play in game with real life friends or online friends?
Well, what I found is online friends can sometimes be easier, and it's a better experience. And I'll tell you why I say that. And so obviously you have a lot more online friends with a lot of common interests, and you don't tend to, sometimes when you get to know someone too personally, you can judge their actions, or you can judge things too quickly, right? So versus playing with a real life friend, you put expectations on them because you know them, And I just think the experience is different. So with online friends, you don't have all that. So you have an open mind, and you tend to be sillier, lighter on your feet. You're not as hard on them if there's a failure. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that would be how I'd answer that question. And plus, you tend to have a lot more online friends to play with, I think, than real life friends. It's tough to get all that together at the same time.
Yeah, and I also think that with real life friends, you may be in their face for like 8 hours during the day, maybe work-wise or something like that. Now you got to come online with them. It can be a bit taxing at the end of the day.
And plus, the next day you go to work, and these are your real life friends as well, your work buddies, and you're still yapping on about the game. Yeah, the boss ain't gonna be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to be able to turn it off at some point.
See, I can't play with real life friends because I know at some point I will be within striking distance of them.
No.
See what I mean?
No.
Okay, so I was corrected too. I was corrected too. I'm supposed to say my wife is my number one choice to play with, right? And then after that, it's online friends.
Yeah, you're gonna get beaten.
Hey, at least my wife she likes gaming now, and she likes streaming. It's fantastic.
You don't have any. You don't have any friends. You don't have any real life friends, Lex. That's why you're with
us.
Not
anymore. Okay, so moving on. What was the first wow moment in Pantheon when you started to follow the game?
Now, I hope you mean wow isn't surprise and not wow.
Wow isn't. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Because
I saw the screenshot of Pantheon.
You just pissed me off right there.
Azeroth.
Yeah, you just pissed me off right there. I hope it has nothing to do with WoW.
Absolutely not. Everybody out there knows me. I would never mutter such a thing.
Yeah, my wife will kill me if I get back into WoW PvP. First WoW moment in Pantheon. Let's think. There's been, so I guess in fairness, I have to say this. I followed EverQuest Next, right? So I was always kind of searching, like a lot of us are. We're searching for the next big MMO, right? What is going to hook us in? What's going to be a world we can log into consistently with friends and want to be there and miss it while we're everywhere else, right? And there just hasn't been a game like that in a while. So I think we're all searching. And then it kind of came out, Jorgensen, he was a part of the whole thing, and EverQuest Next, and I wasn't sure about how they were going with the destructible voxels and all those things, but I was excited. I was excited to the point where I actually went to Vegas for the SOE reveal, and went there. I actually went by myself, just kind of hung out, and everyone was pumped up. I mean, you could see it just like in the Pantheon community. Everyone was pumped up about it. They're like, "Wow, this is cool. Okay, it's a little Disney, cartoony, but okay, maybe we can get over that." And well, y'all know how that turned out, right? So
it turned out great.
Big corporate giant bought them over, all the smashed the whole program. Landmark went south. Landmark was fun for a little while. So then I started, I'm trying to think how it happened, but I guess I was reading something on the net or something, and I kind of came across, Brad McQuaid. I guess I was researching some EverQuest stuff. I saw a Kickstarter thing, however it happened. So I saw, what's this Pantheon all about, Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen. It didn't sound anything like EverQuest, but then I started seeing comments like, well, it was produced by the original EverQuest producer, Brad McQuaid and his team. And I was like, well, I got to check this out. So when I started reading it, I believe that they had kind of the first website up, it's not the load of information that you have now, but it was pretty cool when you look at the characters already they had. And that was probably my wow moment when I said, holy cow. Okay, so when the tenants came out, that's probably it. Because when I started reading through that, and it sounded, it was starting to fit that mold of that game I've been looking for that you can't find anywhere else. I think that was probably my wow moment. I said, wow, if these guys see, it's true, because I just said wow. But it's I started believing that, okay, this could really be real. This could be something I'm looking for. And then that's when I made a decision to support it. Yeah. Financially with the sponsorship. So.
Brilliant. So, what is your guild preference at the end of the day? What do you enjoy?
As far as guild, you know, to me, a guild, it's a large part of that is trying to mold it around what, you know, suits your best interest, right? Because if you do that you're gonna give back to the guild what it deserves as well. There's nothing worse than being in a guild that doesn't cater to what you need out of a game, right? So what I mean by that is I'm in a weird spot right now because I used to be a hardcore gamer. And when I say hardcore, I would be the person like in EverQuest sitting there for hours doing nothing but raid prep, you know, between wipes. And to be honest, it's not fun gameplay, but the reward is when you get through beating it, to move on to the next thing, it's exciting, right? So it's about the end goal. Right now, you know, with work and, you know, I think Pantheon's catering to this beautifully because they want you to accomplish something within a 3-hour period, maybe 4-hour period. And so now a guild to me, I still want to be hardcore when I can be, but at the same time, I want to be that hardcore casual person that maybe I can get into crafting to me, it's about the journey this time around. So I think the guild has to, you know, have that direction where you could be both. And I think that's really important to me. But I still want that hardcore. I still want to be top tier if we can. I still want to put the time in if I can. I just don't know, right? So it's kind of a tricky situation with Pantheon, and plus the game's not going to come out for so long that a lot can change. And, you know, as far as the direction of things and DKP, do we do that or not anyway? So I think to answer that, hopefully I answered that.
Yeah.
So
you're like, yes, he answered that. Shut up.
So this question is actually going to be pretty interesting. Does it matter what gender you play? If so, what is your preference in game?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I know a lot of guys that play girl characters be able to look at their wiggly butt the whole time, right? I hear it all the time. I tend to play male characters almost exclusively. That's not important to me. And there was one game where I made an exception, just because I didn't like the model of the male characters. They were just, I mean, they looked feminine anyway, so I just went with the female. But so I tend to pick. So I think the reason is, I was thinking about this earlier too, is I'm a male. I can relate to being a male, and I semi-role play sometimes. And, you know, it's just easier for me to do that. I wouldn't know how to be a girl, you know, or I could, it might be fun, but it wouldn't be a main character, right? I couldn't get into it quite in the same sense. So for me, I'm almost exclusively always a male character.
It sounds almost like the same thing that kind of affects me. If I have tried to play a female character and I just cannot get immersed because I can't see myself represented in the character.
It's actually a good way to escape some of the weird stuff from the typical male character. I've actually I've been playing a female character now for 12 years. Anila's always, but that also comes to the lore behind my personal character lore. Well, I have the whole thing set up. Healer characters are only female. Male characters are the ones that do all the melee and warrior stuff, and that's how it all came about. But I can understand why some people might find it weird to play a female character, but I'm good with it.
At the end of the day, to each their own. Exactly. It's your gameplay. If that's what you enjoy, that's what you do. Period.
Yeah, it's. I won't judge anybody. That's not what I'm saying. It's just me personally. I tend to go that route just because I like to play a tough and rugged character, and you know what I mean. That I don't know. It just I think it's easier for me to get into the character that way.
Yeah, and I can relate.
Yeah. Yeah. So, moving on. What class and race are you likely to pick, and why?
Yeah, so this is one that's tough for me to answer because I really don't know. I tend to pick. So here's the thing: if I role play or I want to go that route and be a little bit, make believe with the character, a little bit more down that route, I'm more likely to pick a non-human race, like Scar or something like that. Usually one that's not so popular, something like that. So I could see me doing that too. However, there's going to be a lot of things that I have to consider because when we start off with our characters, I want to make sure it's the right character and one I can play for a while and
not get sick of it.
It's going to have to do with starting areas, right, and where the rest of your guild's going or some of your friends. So honestly, that will matter to me because I want that journey and experience right off the bat. So that's going to come into it too. So typically, I tend to play human, and I'm hoping the human models are decent. I won't lie. I like sporting the 6 or 8 pack on the monks in EverQuest there for a long time. That was fun. They had a really good human model on those guys.
So, are you main for game or an alcoholic?
Yeah, so I think I kind of semi-answered that. I'm really a main character. And so as I stream too, I fight that all the time. So it's kind of the same way with games too. When I get into a game, and my wife will tell you, I get into a game. I exhaust that game. I'll usually, just put all my time into it. I'll get frustrated with it. I'll do whatever. I'm really stubborn that way. So it's kind of the same thing with my characters. I have a hard time bouncing around and getting really into multiple characters. I like to take it main and learn every possible thing I can about it. My mindset is if I'm going to be a monk puller, I want to learn the techniques and the things to do to be one of the best pullers out there. It's just my mentality. And I don't think you can do that as effectively playing a lot of different characters across the board. So I'll probably, if we get stable down the road, no problem pulling up like an enchanter or something. Maybe the guild's lacking, or maybe your group you consistently run through is maybe needing a healer or something like that. No problem there. But hopefully I answered that question.
I think so.
Yeah.
So, are there any other game development companies that you admire from their past or present work?
Yeah. So this might shock. This is one of the ones I said to Mike shock you guys, and I had to write some of this down because I really didn't know. If you say Daybreak,
I'm going to slap you.
No, it's not there. Not there. So, how many of y'all have heard of ArcAge?
Yeah.
How many of you played ArcAge?
I didn't play it, no.
So Lexer and I might be able to have a conversation about this. So I mean this when I say it. ArcAge is one of the most fun games I've played in a long, long time. I played it when it was in alpha. I played it through beta. Some of the best water graphics I've ever seen. The ship battles and the way they integrated PvP was absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. That would be, and I will say this with confidence, that would be a game I would still be playing right now. If they didn't screw up with the cash shop in the direction I went with that.
Try on.
And so, I guess when you look at, they made it with the Cry Engine 3, I believe was their, what they built it with, which was amazing graphics. The fact that they had farming in it, like you had plots of land that you can get, and you can manipulate your farm however you needed to for resources. You had to haul packs around. Some packs are more dangerous than others. Sometimes you had to do it on a mule or by land or sometimes by sea. And when you did it by sea, you had to go out with groups of friends or packs of friends or guild members, because at that point, depending on most of the water was pirates can get you. You can go into a pirate faction or you can go to your opposing faction. Any one of those guys can come and steal your resources, and it would be PvP. Even if you went out fishing, most fishing was in contested waters. So at that point you'd be fishing, but you would have guards around you. Like I was on guard duty a lot because I led the PvP group, and we would a lot of times be hiding underwater. So when people would come up to take the fish, we'd pop up out of water and just annihilate them. So it was fun. So, but in the same sense, it really pissed us off because they went, a lot of things we worked hard for and we earned through grinding in the game and just things that were, fun. It took a while to earn them. All of a sudden they became available, or some of these hard resources were available in the cap shop. So it became like a pay to win type situation. We couldn't believe it. Honestly, we were talk about disappointing. I mean, that I tell you, I'd probably still be playing that game. I would bet today. I really think so.
Yeah. Sadly, Tryon for me is one of those companies where I can't go to E3 or anything like that, because if I saw the Tryon booth, I would probably throw Rotten Tomatoes at them. I have never seen a AAA company consistently go downhill as much as them.
Yeah,
but I will say with ArcAge, the original developer, I think he was Korean, I believe.
Yeah, I got a name down here, Jake Song.
Yeah, exceptional work, wonderful ideas. A few things that I personally didn't like, but ArcAge for me was one of those games that had just amazing potential, and like one or two flaws just made it kind of like, no.
And I don't know how you felt about the gliders, but I thought it was magnificent the way they mixed it in.
Them. Yeah.
Yeah, so you could glide around, y'all, and eventually you can upgrade your glider to where you can catch thermals and you could do things and you could stay up there longer. But it was a wonderful way to travel because it wasn't fast, and you can eventually bypass content with it, but you've already been through that content, so it didn't matter. And you take your time, you get to look around. It's very peaceful. You see other gliders here and there occasionally, and it was just a cool way to get around from place to place.
Right. See, for me, with ArcAge in particular, I'm the kind of player that when I log in, I know what I want to do, and I don't want to be forced to do anything else. But with ArcAge, like when you hit level 30, the zones become PvP on a interval, forcing you to PvP, which ends up just being a lot of higher level people ganking the new people. And that's what killed it for me. It forced me to do something that I didn't want to do at that time.
What part of the PvP did you feel like they forced you to do?
You could be questing in a zone, and all of a sudden it would flip to PvP. And there would already be a lot of high-level people there ready to just mow everybody down from the opposing faction. And it was always between these two zones. One would be PvP, the other would be PvP, and then they would swap.
Yeah, so what he's talking about, so it was timed. You knew of the time that you could get out if you wanted to. But if you didn't get out and you decided to stay around, then everyone would come in and have their wars there. But there were times when it was peaceful, when you could go into those zones and do what you got to do. But you had to time it around when it went to war and stuff, yeah. Right,
yeah. For me, I mean, I was in there questing, having fun, then all of a sudden, you lose track of time, and all of a sudden you realize level 50 just backstabbed you and you're dead. And then they're camping and you're stuck at the stone. So you're like, well, I can't play now.
Until the time is gone.
Right. Now, I found that very disappointing. I mean, I could see that at endgame because you were already experienced of the vast majority of the game, and you've got options.
Yeah,
when
but isn't that a development flaw at the end of the day?
In my opinion, yes, it is a design flaw because it forces your players to play a certain way when they might not necessarily. Like some people just want to get lost in a game, kind of thing. But we are going off the rails, and I'm going to try and get us back on.
Yes.
Josh, take it away, please.
So Lexer, let me ask you this, and I'm trying to think outside the box here, because that didn't bother me because I'd manage it, and then I guess I had enough friends or guild because we had the PvP guild, so it didn't suck. But you can go get your corpse easy because they come help you out. But let's say you're in Pantheon and they decide to make a dynamic world where you're out questing and you've been camping this spot and you still haven't got your drop or something, because as we know, there could be rare mobs and things. What if a dynamic event happened and all these goblins swooped in and killed you and you lost your camp? I mean, how would you feel about that? Because a lot of us want a dynamic world. I just want to know in that scenario, how would you?
The thing with that is usually you have ample announcements. You have lots of people to help you. You've got other zone options. With ArcAge, it was like A or B, where you could go at level 30, as an example. By the time you travel from, like, say I log in zone A, it's got 10 minutes to go to PvP. By the time I manage to travel as a new player to this other zone, it's about ready to swap again, which essentially means if I don't want to PvP, there's a period in there that I cannot play, even if that's the only time I can play today. They're forcing me to do something I don't want to do, which to a lot of players would just be like, well, I'm going to play something where I can play the way I want to.
So it sounds like it's just the PvP aspect and not necessarily the environment aspect.
Now, I do enjoy well done PvP. I really do. But I want a PvP when I want a PvP.
Yeah.
If I had a rough day, I don't want to deal with PvP. I just want to relax and quest, maybe craft or do a dungeon with some friends or maybe meet some new people in a dungeon or whatever. But with Arcade, to me, it was you are forced to do this. And to me, that was kind of like, you know, I know this is going to make me sound super juvenile, but, you know, so someone tells me to clean my room, I'm not going to clean my room.
But
you know?
to bring us back on track and to answer Pyye's question that was addressed to Lex, I think we're all in agreement here. We would love to see a dynamic world where, you know, goblins run wild and take over the forests of, you know, Avendir's Pass.
And the outcome is always different.
Yep.
When the community works it cooperatively versus against each other.
Yeah,
exactly. So, what gaming cliche annoys you the most, and how did you ensure that it isn't present in Pantheon?
I might have to go to my notes on this one. Cliches. Cliches. I don't know if these are necessarily cliches, but here are things that annoy me that I hope don't get carried over into Pantheon. Okay. One of them is mob linking and group dependent AI, where they don't have individual AI of their own. So some games you'll go in and you'll pull one mob, but they're linked and they're, you know, tethering like another word. So it's really impossible to split or manipulate. I like the word manipulate because as we've seen in Pantheon so far, it looks like the density will be decent. Some of the demos they showed, some of the monk polling and things like that. I mean, that's what I want. I want that. I don't want that taking that out of your hands, that ability, that extra skill set that you can have to manipulate the game. So that would be one of them. Cash ops, I have that down. That's another one. Obviously, I've seen that it can ruin a game, and it kind of terrifies me because I think sometimes at the very end of it, it's always about the bottom line, the dollar. Yeah. And I think they're smart enough to keep the funding going, keep the advertisement out there, the promotions out there. They've got a big community behind it already financially. I really hope, and with their business plan and their model, not to talk about, you know, how are we going to pay for the game when we play it, but I would be willing to pay a premium monthly fee. I think there's enough people out there willing to do that because we understand if you don't, guess what? Cash shops and other means of making money could be an option, and I've already seen that ruin games. So, and then the last thing I'll say is, and I know this is another question, but add-ons to the point where I don't want to see it like add-ons like World of Warcraft. I don't want to see add-ons that help make the game easier. Other than I understand guild leaders and things need parsing materials. I understand all that. Okay, it's not what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about DPS meters that can be revealed and you know, spammed and just things like that, where it becomes about DPS or it becomes about this or that. I want them to build the game the way it's intended, and then maybe add in what they need to lead successful raids and things like that. But I want to see that kind of very minimal.
Yeah, I mean, in a raid, I'd rather be dealt with in a script type basis where you have to work together as a team and timing is critical, rather than DPS is the thing to take down the mob at the end of the day. Yeah.
And people are absolutely right. I am muted. So, only you guys were in on this one.
We were saving our technical difficulties for midstream.
Yes. I'm definitely not a fan of just DPS.
Yeah, and you know what? Ultimately, if the game does lose subscribers and things like that, rather than go back to crowdfunding or something like that to get money, and rather than bringing cash shops and rubbish like that. So yeah.
Well, it's like, to me, add-ons are best used to assist organization or to enhance certain aspects of the game, not to alter the gameplay, or to alter your players' goals. Because like with the DPS meter, for example, you went from being successful in a dungeon to, I don't care if I'm successful as long as I top that meter. That became your new goal.
That's all it was. I saw it in raids. People going,
I think we're all in agreement on that.
laughing at the rogue for being, third in the DPS meter, and the paladin topped him, or the wizard, being like 10th.
It's toxic, is what it is, and
it's toxic. So. Exactly.
I'm one of those. I'm in my own little area over here that I like to get in a. So here's. I'm just giving one short example, okay? So Yarn, we're doing good on time, right? So here's an example. Like, you go run a dungeon, let's say, and say, as a leader, you're getting to know the dungeon fairly well, right? You put a group together. It just happens to be what group came together that day. You go run the dungeon and you smoke through it. Whatever it was, you maybe the skill set of the players you're with, class mix, whatever it was, like, you had no issues. It seemed, easy. You went through it. You had a great time. Bam. Wow, that was so fun. You go back the next day, you put another group together. This time, it's a completely different mix of people. Maybe one character's the same, player's the same, but the class mix is a little bit, all of a sudden, maybe you wipe just a little bit in, you go, wow, what happened? Okay, so let's figure it out. And you start adjusting. So maybe some of the habits you did the other day, right, in that premier group that you had, you start adjusting and playing differently and maybe trying harder, and you do things, and all of a sudden, guess what? You get through that whole dungeon again, but it was just a little bit more challenging. And I think that is what I like. We didn't rely on DPS meters. We didn't rely on anything other than what the game, gave you in feedback, right? You went in, you found out what you had to do, what didn't work, and you adjusted and you made it work. And that is what's exciting about a game like this. So I'm hoping you don't have to rely on these add-ons and outside influences to get you through that kind of stuff.
I actually rather hope that the game itself will offer so much that it's going to make it impossible to have these add-ons help you. I mean, if we look at the behaviors and dispositions from the NPCs, that's something that should, keep it challenging for us regardless. So, I'm not a fan of rinse and repeat, DPS. If I switch out one minor thing in my group, it should matter. It should make me have to go and approach the whole situation differently, and not just go, hey, no matter what, max DPS, and the healer just heal once at the beginning, in the middle, and towards the end, and that's it. But DPS, no. I want to have different ways to approach it, because my group might not be as strong as my previous run, so now I have to approach it differently.
Right. I remember telling my raiders in the past, basically, like, I don't care if you're top of the DPS. The fact of the matter is, you're dead, and now we have to stop to get you back on your feet.
There you go.
You're costing us 10 minutes, that we could have spent doing something else. The fact that you did the most DPS all night long does not matter. Fact of the matter is, if you were to just slow your roll a little bit, we would have been done 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you prefer a lot of options or few when creating your character? And why?
I don't mind options. I think options are really cool. The thing I do like, and as far as creating, when you say options, are we talking about character appearance options? Are we talking about what other skill set options you can apply points to? What are you talking about along those lines?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it ties in with another question, right? Or maybe not. Maybe this is the question. So to me, like, I could think of like Dragon Age Inquisition, or I think that one that stands out is when you're done with that character creation, I really feel like you can develop a really cool looking character that already has a unique uniqueness about him just by appearance. It was the fact that you can detail out a lot of cool things as far as eyes, cheekbones, nose, scars, color of eyes, just different things. It was really cool. I mean, you don't see the same. You wouldn't see the same characters running around. It'd be very rare unless they just hit click, click, click and got in the game, right? Yeah. So I'm a fan of it. I think it's cool. Anytime you can have individuality to the game like that, I'm all for it. So
yeah, cool.
So the question everybody's been waiting for: what got you interested in Pantheon?
Yeah, I think I actually already answered it.
At the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was just a quick recap. I know I answered it pretty much in full already, but anyone that came in late. So basically, got into PC gaming, led up to EverQuest, and the way I played 11 years. So I had a understanding of who Brad McQuaid was, and even Vanguard there for a little bit. So it was a game like that, a game like EverQuest, which, I love seeing guys like Basgrim out there who were playing when they're age 5. I mean, I just still love that because it just shows you, it's proof that it doesn't matter what age you are. It's the game. It's the way the game's played. It's the relationships. It's how difficult it is. It doesn't matter about graphics, guys. Remember back then the graphics were like, it didn't matter. I mean, we still go back and play, the progression stuff. It didn't matter. So
here's a side question though, real quick. When someone says that they've been basically gaming since they were 5, like in Basgrim's case, doesn't it just make you feel old as the hills?
Here's the thing I've learned is I feel young and I act young, and I've got a younger wife, so that helps too. She keeps me young. No, but
as old as the woman you feel.
Yeah, as old as you want to be. Look, I still got a sharp mind. I still got, I'm still okay at gaming. Working on the mind always. So it's a matter of how you take care of yourself. I'm a big. I encourage people to take care of yourself and then get into your gaming. Because you need to take care of yourself so you can be around and enjoy it, right? You never know what's going to be around the corner. You want to make sure you stay alive and healthy for it. So I'm a big proponent of that. So what got me interested in Pantheon was that. It was just EverQuest, and the fact that I did do the EverQuest Next for a little bit, got smashed by that hammer, and that didn't happen. And so then, Pantheon was the next best thing. Here comes Brad McQuaid surfacing again in the gaming community, and you know what? Believe in what he's doing. I believe in the group he's put together, and I pretty much committed financially right off the bat. A lot of people are skeptical, and they're like, well, "Why would you do that?" Because that game's going to fail, or that game's never going to come to fruition, or anything. And I'm like, well, first of all, they need the help, and so if everyone thought like you did, they'd be done right from the start. So thank God there's enough of us out here that believe in it like they do, to the point where you're willing to risk your little bit of finances to make it happen. And, I wanted to be a part of the history this time around and get into early testing as quick as I could because I wanted to be a part of that journey. So anyway, so hopefully that summed up what I already answered earlier.
Very well.
Cool. So what do you think could be added to character creation to improve it in games?
So as far as just character creation goes, I hope they have the ability to create individuality, so that even if you play a Scar or Archive, whatever you end up playing, you can still have some individuality within that race. And if you look at it, it could be difficult, right? But maybe it could be even, or the gnomes, different glowing eyes or different mask features. They can do it. Different capes or different something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So just the individuality thing amongst
Uniqueness.
No matter what race you pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the length of the nails on Scar. Just those kind of things.
Give me bigger spikes.
Spikes on the back. The length of those. I know Lexar's going as long as he can, right? So.
Hell yeah. So, what is your opinion of third-party apps that would possibly link to your Pantheon account to improve things? For example, like what if you could, say, craft from the website?
So I haven't really entertained that idea before. I think we talked about the other DKP and all that, so no need to get into that. I don't like that. So I guess explain to me what you mean by third-party app that links Pantheon off game time. So what are you talking about there?
I guess something it would be like using your smartphone to maybe, if there's an app on it linking to your character in game, that you can start another crafting side of things to craft for another 6 hours.
I mean, I could be wrong here because it has been quite a few years, but I think SWTOR did something where you could log into the website because crafting was basically done by proxy with your minions. You could basically send them to go craft from the website. I mean, do you think that's almost an unfair kind of advantage or something that's
So here's what I want ultimately, and I think I can answer that question with this philosophy here, is that here's what I want. I want to, when I'm at work or when I'm somewhere else, I want to feel like I'm missing out. I'm not logged into that world, and I need to remember how I used to feel. And I'm like, damn, I got to get home. Hopefully not risk getting an accident getting home. But you were excited. I mean, you got home, and you logged in, and it was that moment, right? So I don't want anything to take away from. And I'm hoping Pantheon has that feeling again. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Where you're just missing out, and when you log in, your friends go, man, if you were just here 10 minutes earlier, this happened. And I'd be like, damn. So then you stay an extra 2 hours in case something happened again, right? So it's that kind of feeling. All right, so I'm not a huge crafter, but I have a lot of friends that are, and I'm going to respect their decision on that. I would trust a crafter to make that decision, as long as it doesn't take away from my experience. Like, I don't want anything easy. It's what a cash shop does.
Yeah,
it makes things too easy. It makes things too available. I want everything to happen within the game world itself. Everything give back within the game world itself as much as possible. So I guess that's a politically correct way to answer that is I want my crafter friends to hopefully push forward what they want. But from the sounds of it, no. But I guess I don't know enough about it. You know what I mean? So I'll leave it at that.
I think it'd probably be a safe bet to say that you most likely would not utilize that. I know I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, same.
It depends.
Yeah, well, here's the problem though. If it gives you an advantage, by using it, then you're going to have to use it, right? It depends.
Right.
I mean, that's what I don't like. It's kind of the same way with Cash Shop to some degree, where if it's pay to win, because if they're out beating you because they're able to manipulate it and get it faster than you going out and earning it, I'm sorry, but you're going to fall behind, and that's going to cost everybody.
But let me follow up, because the question was addressed to improving the game, and that is definitely the way it was presented was not an improvement. So I'm going to give you an example that would improve the game. If you could log in per app and chat with your guild mates to tell them that you're going to be late, you're going to have to cancel the event, just to basically inform your guild via outside application in game. Would you utilize that? Would you think that that's an improvement to the game?
Well, again, oh man, so I'm a little set on my ways on some things. So, like I said, I have an open mind to something. I know we're living in the fast age. I fight it with work all the time, right? I mean, it's getting faster and faster and faster. You're expected to get on your phone and your emails now, and what I'm worried is I don't want it to become about that. I want it to go a little more old-fashioned where everything happens within the game. So I'm a little cautious on anything that's technology-wise trying to tap in or make, But look, if it truly enhances the game and the majority of the players think so, and you know what I mean, then I'm going to support it. I mean, I'm not that closed-minded where I won't. But if it's something, I'll tell you, if it's something I'm directly involved with that I really love in games, then I usually fight pretty passionately toward it, as most that know me know I will.
It's a very difficult question to answer, simply because, like, say, a chat program, there's no advantage to any players to use that, really. Because it's just talking to people. Whereas crafting and stuff like that.
So to answer that question, I guess I never really answered that, but I love the social aspect of what they're trying to do, and I love the social aspect of games. I love the fact that we used to be able to do silly emotes and, you know, things in between playing. It just helps make the fun, you know, the game lively. And I'm not a fan, and I think you guys know this from the forums, of headsets and voice chat. You know, there are times when you need it, like when you're raiding inside. I get it. Maybe just the raid leader talking, or the actual raid leaders, or the guild leader, or whoever. But there are times, I don't know, maybe I'm just not with the times. But when I hear somebody eating potato chips or burping or bringing all that real life crap into my experience of trying to get immersed in a game, I'm trying to listen to swamp sounds or cave, you know, cries and just different things that the game's offering. I'm hearing somebody in a real life situation. I can picture them kicking back with their feet up, or, you know, with a beer on the couch. Who knows? That's not what I want. So I want to stick to texting as much as I can, and maybe macros where you can text like incoming mob, you know, just the things that kind of EverQuest had. Yeah. So, but I don't have a problem with keeping up with your guild mates or some of your friends to plan a dungeon crawl, or I think some of that technology could be cool, and I'd probably utilize it, right? So just so you can be better organized when you get into the world. If it works like that, or maybe your guild had to post an immediate change to the schedule because of a spawn or something, I could see that working to your advantage. Is that good or bad? I don't know. Yeah. But I'm all about that. If it increases communication, which it sounds like it would, I might be okay with something like that. But yeah.
Man, I can pretty much agree to that. Spot on.
Yep.
So, if you could copy a character creation section out of another game and add it to Pantheon, which game would it come from and why?
Yeah, so I mentioned Dragon Age Inquisition earlier. I don't know if you guys have played that one, but I think they did a really good job. And if I remember right, you know, I played so many games now, but I think ESO Online did a good job. There's a bunch of them that have that ability to individualize the character model again. So one that stands out, because I played it a little while back, was Dragon Age Inquisition. I felt like when I started the game, I really had that character that I can mold and manipulate, and kind of in my back of my mind, I was working on already my own lore with this character and why he ended up there, and so he looked a certain way. And I think that answered my question, because I was able to kind of create him how I seen it in my mind.
Nice.
Cool. Sorry, I just had to listen background here. Oh, whoa! Am I still there?
You're there.
I hear
You're in the dark, though.
Yeah, my whole system just whoa! One has just disappeared. But it looks like I'm still there, so we're all good. Fast forward 3 years, what do you imagine Pantheon to have evolved into?
Okay, so that's kind of our dream state, right? So 3 years upon going live. 3 years upon going live, I hope there's 3 or 4 expansions. I hope that they add more horizontal leveling. To
mic on, powering off.
Other things you can sink time into in the game. I hope they improve upon dynamic environments, and I really, really hope that it's 3 years. I'm still really active in it, and we haven't seen it all. And or even if you have seen some of the Apex stuff, you can still feel like you got to go back and complete certain quests, and maybe precursors to the next epic quest coming up, or you know what I'm saying, just something along those lines. But I really hope that it's they've created this dynamic world that you never know what's going to spawn where, and what's going to happen where, and so that really keeps people interested. I mean, I really truly think so. So anyway, hopefully that answered the question. Hopefully it's around thriving, and the population's huge, and it's just growing and going places, and they have the ability to crank out at least an expansion a year that can complete a year, maybe 2 a year or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that there's actually world dynamic as well, where cities maybe fall. So you've actually got different ages starting to happen as well over time. So yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I know that's just really difficult to program.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
the thing is, like, I can agree with 98% of what you said.
We know the other 2%.
Well, the other two, I've got this thing about expansions. You know, to me, an expansion a year seems like they're just pumping it out, not really putting a lot of quality behind it. I want when I hear expansion, I want big. You know.
So I think once a year they could be capable of that. If it depends on how big their team is. I mean, right now, they wouldn't be capable. But
the thing is, once a year, do we need it?
We don't know that yet. We don't know that yet.
Well, actually, here's a more important question though. If they do an expansion year, do you think that you could keep up with it?
That's a good question.
I hope not. That would be my response. I hope not. I hope I'm too busy and other things to. But it's weird. It's also going to be, where's the direction of your guild going at the time? What's their goals? So, what are they focused on? How fast can they clear raid content? How fast can they get epic weapons accomplished? How fast can they get the dungeon loot and all that knocked out? Because I think once you start getting off that raid cycle, then it opens. As long as there's enough to do with the remaining game, there won't be any issues. So it's how much can you keep the players busy outside of the norm and the progression.
Right.
So.
Now, another side question. God, I'm on a roll. Some of these are shut me up. Like we all know that most expansions are driven by the hardcore community. The faster they consume content, the more pressure the developers feel to pump it out, basically. Say you're in a guild that likes to go through the content, not skip anything. Is there a point where you would actually start feeling like you're being left behind in terms of the game overall?
Yeah,
so you're like 3 or 4 expansions behind. Would you start to feel like, why even bother?
Well, so no, I would say no, because it happened to me in EverQuest. I wasn't necessarily a part. Unfortunately, I won't mention names because I really respected the other guild. So it depends on what phase we're talking about. But initially, I was still discovering the game. I didn't get into the biggest guild. So we were always in the footsteps of somebody else. And we weren't the first to kill the level 52 dragons, none of that. But we still could. It was still designed where, because when they went above and beyond, then for some reason when it first started, they weren't on this camping cycle. It just wasn't there. And then I think they fixed it eventually anyway. But I just never felt like I wanted to ever quit. I try to think of why that is, but where I would get frustrated is if maybe you're in a situation where they don't design it correctly and top guilds can monopolize certain mobs and drops so people don't ever get to experience it. There's been a lot of talks in the forums, and I know like our guild leader in 187, there's a lot of people that have thrown a lot of great ideas out there on how to not let that happen. I think it's very important too. You can't have a guild, I think, that's monopolizing everything. And at that, to Lexer's point, it's going to really, I think everyone deserves a chance to experience what the game has to throw out. And they need to design it in a way where it supports that. It's tough, but it can be done. I mean, there were great solutions being offered on the forums, so it can happen. So I'm a big supporter of that. I don't mind being in a top guild, but at the same time, I think it needs to be designed in a way where every guild has that opportunity to accomplish the exact same things, maybe just not as fast.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest obstacles a lot of us old school gamers are going to face, especially with Pantheon, is that a lot of us were hardcore, at least bigger time raiders, and we're going to go into a game that's going to remind us of the glory days, but we're older. We've grown up. We've got families. We've got jobs, et cetera, et cetera. We can't really do that even though the way our mind works is all we would remember is the good stuff. We don't remember the going to bed at 4:30 in the morning and having to get up at 7, you know. And one of my biggest concerns is that a lot of the older raiders, such as myself, are going to get that feeling like, God, I want to be at the forefront again. And if I try, it's probably going to kill me.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Oh, jeez. Spaced out for a quick second here. I'm the next one. I know. Why me? Okay, so we're down to the last two. First one.
We're getting there, everybody. We're close.
Everyone's thinking, well, thank God. I'm not going to have to hear Lex anymore. Would you attend a Pantheon-style event? And if so, how far would you be willing to travel to get there? And what will get you there?
So, so I kind of already cheated. I already been to the first Pantheon. So I did go to the TwitchCon this year with the wife, and Baz Grimm's claim to fame is he's one of the first to play. I argue that. I don't know. I sat down pretty early too and played. I screwed up. He played it the way it was meant to be played. He went down dirty. He did a lot. I didn't want to. I was more or less like, oh God, I don't want to take up the whole thing. I was being a little bit too respectful. I wish I would have just, not that he wasn't respectful. That's not what I meant. I wish I was him. I wish I made the decisions he did. Because I wish I did sit down and do everything he did. I just was I guess I was in shock. I was just like, wow, I'm here with Brad McQuaid and all the whole gang. I really was. I was like, well, this is so cool. And the way they treated us was just amazing. I'm telling you, the way they treated us was I was such a big fan, even more so after that. So I've already been. So they had a Pantheon gathering at a it's like a beer restaurant that was down the road, a couple blocks out, and was able to get to that. And, to answer the question, what would get me there and how far would I travel? It has to do with finances, right? I mean, I would love to go to Australia for this because I love Australia, Joshua. But that's, I'm in Texas, so that's a long ways away because you still got to get to one of the coasts and then fly over. Usually it's California. Yeah. And, it really depends. We like to travel. So, I mean, no problems going anywhere in the States. We want to get up to Canada at some point. But so honestly, what would get me there is just knowing how I've already been a part of it, knowing how fun it is. Being able to meet some of the community is everything. It's so much fun. TwitchCon was a blast. So I think it would just, the only thing really limiting that would be financial, right? Whether you can justify spending the funds to go do something like that. But I'm highly interested. I mean, you can count on me being there at some future events if it financially makes sense, that's for sure. And I know the wife will already go. And the wife is going to play Pantheon. Right, honey? Yeah, she's out there somewhere, but she promised she's going to be playing Pantheon.
So you heard it unofficially, guys. Pantheon at Pye's house.
Yeah. There you go. Hey.
BYOB.
Hey. Texas is fun. And it's central, right in the center. Joshua, for you, it's a little long. It's a little, it's a bit of a trek.
I would. I must admit, finances obviously willing. I would definitely travel to the US to go to one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it's established and it's, I think it'd be super, super fun. I mean, and it's still ongoing. Maybe it's 3 or 4 years down the road,
Well, I'm in Scotland, so it's a little bit closer than...
Oh, you're in Scotland?
Yeah.
Why was I thinking you're Australia?
I don't know, probably the accent, but...
So you like your scotches? You like your scotches?
Yep.
All right. Peaty scotches or non-peaty scotches?
Just like any scotch, basically. Yeah.
All right.
All good.
The scotch I like is the one that goes in my mouth.
Well, your accent is still amazing. So, now it all makes sense. Which brings us to the last question.
The last question, and really the only question that really matters here. I mean, let's face it, guys. That's the only reason these people are showing up here is to find out who you think is the VoT host with the most. So come on, let me have it.
All right, so here's the deal. I'm gonna take a bit of time to answer this.
There's a deal. So, I don't have my wallet.
So it's going to come down to what each of you possess in my mind. Again, I don't know you like you all know each other, right? But Joshua, I like your demeanor, and I love your accent, and it looks like you'd be a fun guy to hang around, kind of on my level, and
Cool.
so I admire that about you. Everyone's got passion, of course, but Lexer, you stand out. You seem like you're a lot like me, very passionate, very driven.
I got to me a big mouth.
Very stubborn. Like when
I don't know how to shut it.
When you get your mind to it, and you probably strive to be the best. So I could relate to some of that. And then lastly, Yarn,
Oh, we can just skip that. That's fine.
No, I got to say it, man. I just got to say it. Well over 100 episodes right now. He was one of the first to reach out for me. We played Guild Wars 2 for a little bit, and welcomed me into that, trying to get to know everybody. And, when I was still kind of lost in my gaming world, to be honest with you. But so just as an admiration standpoint, doing over 100 episodes. So I've gotten into streaming recently. I could tell you the planning that even on my side, just setting up my first few dual streams and things. So it's just remarkable, man. It's a remarkable feat. It's the dedication, which is a key word I start my streams with, as one of the words that pops up. It's like the ultimate dedication you're showing. You're committed. I think everyone knows that. So it's just, I have to give credit to Yarn here. You guys are great. I can show you the reasons you're great, but I'm going to have to give credit to Yarn where it all started.
Okay.
And,
hey guys,
the amount of work he's put into this is just remarkable. Everyone needs to know that. So,
with all this talk about Yarn, now here's what you got to remember. He's going to say some kind of BS, put honey in our ear thing about it being a group effort and a team effort.
No. Actually, no.
He does like 90% of the work.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, I've offered to share the work. It's not like I haven't.
Yeah, he's at the point where he's just like, please, somebody do something.
Yes.
Well, look, I mean, and again, maybe I know Yarn just a little bit more, and I don't know, you two guys as well. But I know that he's a family man, and he just had a new baby, and there's things that trust me, he could very easily just say, guys, I'm too busy, but he doesn't do that. He finds time to keep it rolling and keeping everything alive, and that it usually falls on the shoulders of somebody. And I know if I'm wrong, I have a feeling he captains everything, and so so there you go, Yarn. Credit to you,
well
man.
Done.
But where's that chart, Lex? Where's that chart?
I'm working on it. You know what my workload's like right now.
So
I had to actually cancel my personal streams for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, you've been very, very busy. But that was basically.
Lexer, I need to send you a follow. So sorry, I don't think I've done that.
Don't do it. It's a trap. I wouldn't watch him.
So that's basically today's show, the player Q&A with Pyye. For everybody that's just tuned in or hasn't been following us recently, this is now the last show until the 9th of March. We're taking a break. Pye's already been so kind to kind of fill you all in. I recently had the joy of being father for the second time. My daughter was recently brought into the world, so we're taking a break so that I can get that all situated and give these guys as well, Lex and Josh, a well-deserved break. And VR, if you're kind enough, no streams until the 9th of March and anything like that. Yeah, okay. That's
to give you a little context on that request. The last time that we took a little break, I think we worked more that week.
Oh yeah.
Than we had worked in the last month on the show.
Yep.
All because of you. Thanks, guys.
And when we come back, we will be sitting down with Sade, talk to him, and get to know him a bit. And we've been kind of working to try and provide a long-term planner for you guys. So look forward to seeing the show layout. I think we got it till the first, July, right? First show in July. So at the moment, we've got everything planned out till the 1st of July. We'll be hitting up a lot of you guys in the community as well to see if we can get you on to do player Q&A like Pyye has done today with us.
Yep. So check your spam filters.
Yep, so check your spam filters and everything, because we will be reaching out to all of you. And Pyye, thanks again for doing this. It was a pleasure having you on. It was great to get to
guys. Absolute pleasure, and it's about time I got in here, right? I'm just glad we're able to work it out, and with our busy schedules, and I know for a fact we'll be seeing you guys in the community, and that's exciting. So thanks again for having us on, and Lexor, can't wait to kind of catch up with you on the streaming side of things, and so much appreciated, guys, and hopefully you saw some of the support out there. You had some good support tonight. So,
thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Great support. All I can really say is
appreciate it.
I love meeting another kindred spirit.
Oh yeah,
you bet, baby. Absolutely.
So with that,
let's get it done.
We will see you all, hopefully, after the long break, full of energy and passion again, and all that good stuff that comes with it, because I'm telling you, it's been a drag. It's been very hard. I'm looking forward to this break. So with that, guys, take care and stay safe, and we will speak to you soon. Should VR do anything, just know we will be there to give you all the tidbits and juicy bits and stream recaps and everything. So we'll see you all in about a month's time. Take care, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks again, guys. Take care.
Darren said juicy bits.